Today we do have a guest here, Dr. Murat Kayacan. You're welcome, sir. Of course, the first issue of all our followers is pandemic and death tolls. But today we would like to talk about the financial hazards in Turkey and all around the world. Mr. Kayacan is the right person to answer those questions with his 30 years financial market experience.
They say so. I've been told like this. Thank you.
Yeah.
Today it's an honor for me to be here, but let me check it out whether I can give you satisfactory answers. Let me see.
My first question is, sir, what are your expectations about global GDP and Turkey's GDP?
Actually, that's a common question. Plenty of the cases I've been interviewed about those issues. After, of course, 6 months achy and, of course, bloody pandemic story, recovery is inevitable, of course. But as all you know, this year, at the end of this year, we're going to see that we didn't enhance our productivity and production in terms of GDP. We didn't enhance as much as we wanted because we do have a new normal. So that new normal forces us to at least stop some addictions, at least in terms of when you compare with the last year's productivity and consuming, let's say, appetite, you're going to see certain, let's say, discounts on that figures. I do have a figures. With your permission, I'm going to talk about those figures. So when you look up general manner to GDPs of the countries, what you're going to see, last quarter, in the last one, we already passed through. Of course, United States, I'm talking about, of course, all developed countries. First of all, when you look at them, U.S. After that election, let's say, problem. I'm just labeled as a problem, but of course, it's the expression of democracy. But as you've seen from the cameras, from the let's say TVs, there are plenty of quarrels between Trump and Biden. It still goes on, but at the end of the day, they just finished that. But when you look up the numbers of daily death toll of coronavirus, it is achy and it goes up. So when you look up to the GNP part of the story, what you're going to see, they are recovering. Why we are taking care of US at that level? I mean, why we are paying so much importance to GDPs of United States of America? Guys, don't forget it. When you look up the macro number of world GNP, what you're going to see, $87 trillion. And with that $87 trillion, US has got 21 of them. So not percentage, of course, $21 trillion. So they do have the big part of the big pie. So when you look up to the, let's say, United States, apart from USA, the European side of the story, $14 trillion they do have as a GNP number, all European countries. What about China? China almost they just reach up to 30. Yeah, let us make some kind of a sum up. $14 trillion as a GNP. So, if you want to talk about global things, you're supposed to take care of US, you're supposed to take care of European countries and also China. And let me say something to you. If you check it out, the metals, petroleum, all kind of commodities, what did we see in August? I think the petroleum price, the barrel prices, get down to minus $40. In future contracts. Can you imagine that? How harsh it is? How strikingly harsh it is? Why am I saying so? Because none of the countries, of course, at the beginning, China and India almost closed all economic activities. Whenever you close that economies, what you're going to see, all kind of metals, commodities, and of course petroleum will not going to be somehow consumed. if it is not being consumed, what you're gonna see, the price is supposed to be getting down. I hope that we're never gonna see the same problem. I hope that we're not gonna see the same problem. But I'm just willing to see better days. I'm just willing to see better days, I hope. But when you talk about world GNP, world, let's say business, you're supposed to talk about US. You're supposed to talk about Europe and blah, blah, blah. So guys, let's move back to Turkey side of the story. What did we see in Turkey? In Turkey, we saw, of course, as as other countries within the pandemic, but of course last quarter, we showed the world that we are producing 15% overall, a quarter GNP rise. It satisfies us. Not enough, but when you come up with the old negative numbers, that's quite interesting. And of course, even though we increase interest rates, we saw that result. I mean, central bank decided to increase our interest rates because financial markets are somehow forced central bank. And as you know, our central bank president changed, new names came, and also that our, let's say, minister changed, and then the climate changed drastically, so that we achieved a good number in terms of GNP quarterly figures. But of course, if interest rate increases at the end of the year, will have some certain effects, because whenever you increase interest rates in the theoretical manner, when you look up the economy, if you increase interest rates, what you're going to see, all of a sudden, the debt finding, crediting process going to be slowing down, so that none of the companies will be getting enough cash to invest new, let's say, productions, let's say, moments, so that they are going to be short in terms of finding debt. That's inevitable. But on the other hand, whenever you increase interest rates, what you're going to see, you're stopping inflation. Because what the rule says, if you increase interest rates, you're supposed to increase the value of the Turkish lira. When you increase Turkish lira's value, what you're going to see, you're supposed to cap the inflation rate. That's important story of the all what I'm telling you. So when you come up to answer your question, yeah, the numbers are getting well. We are somehow in the middle of recovery, but let us continue with other question of you.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
With your permission, I'm going to ask your second question. What are you thinking about? What are your thoughts about global recovery of stock markets?
That's a funny and bizarre story, actually. Why am I saying so? What did we see in Turkey at the beginning of March? The index number, the stock exchange index, I think almost 130 points, something like this. And with the harsh death toll and also pandemic information and news from all around the world, we just jump into the 82,000, something like this, as a point. A harsh drop we saw, but it was a kind of, let's say, it is almost the same when you compare with the European and US markets. The same story has been seen in every corner of the world. All indexes, stock exchange indices react as it was, right?
Yeah.
So we saw the same story. Then what did we see? Some sectors, not of course airways, not banks, but chemical industry, food and beverage industry, somehow hospitals and medicine industry began to move up, because people are so achy and afraid of, or scary of dying, scary of losing their life. Even though they don't have cash in their pocket, they just somehow refrain to buy something new. They lost their their ambition to buy and sell, right? So that commerce somehow diminished, all volumes of trades diminished, and of course state taxes lowered because there were no trade let's say capacity or trade wish among people or within the society. So what we see, markets react at least those secure areas, those secure sectors, companies begin to move. Of course, plenty of people were bizarre to stay in home in long hours, and they just pushed into the, let's say, it's a kind of hostility. It's a kind of a, let's say, imprisonment actually. Not the hostility is not the right term. They've been kept into the prison. They forced to be in a home. That was good for us at the beginning. We didn't think that it was good, but then we understood that even though we do have a Porsche in front of our home, or even though we do have huge amount of cash, we don't have any time, we don't have any chance to buy new things, we don't have right to drive our car on the roads. We understood that we are on our own. We're just staying alone. I mean, even though we do have family members around, we are alone. So a teeny bite of virus, tremendously effective on our life and cost plenty of lives. 1.1,500,000 people already dead. That was that toll. Actually, when you compare with the Spanish virus, Spanish flu of 1918, 1920, the death toll was 50 million, right? But that's not something that we are amused of. We are not happy with that number. So I hope that we gonna beat that virus. I hope that the remedies are coming, as far as we saw on the screen, on the TVs. But let me get the question of you. Thanks God, the stock markets move up the place that we just began to lose power. We just began to get down just March 2020 as much as. So, but the question is, enormous, let's say, good horizons are being somehow pushed into the market as a herald, as a news. What I'm saying is, plenty of good news and of course manipulative activities, manipulative, let's say, heralds, manipulative news regarding companies are being pumped into the market by plenty of manner. I mean, social chats, sites, websites, blah blah blah. Plenty of the, let's say, channels are being used and enormously, and of course, plenty of them are not true. Some, let's say, manipulative ideas, manipulative, let's say, news pumped up, and those investors. Let me give you a number. We once in March, the investors amount of the Turkish capital market was around 1 million. Okay. Now we are 1.7 million.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, strikingly good,
yeah, good
in terms of viewing. But when you look up those guys, those are the ones are not having any. They were not experienced. They are just newcomers. They don't know anything at all, and they don't want to know anything at all. Actually, they have telephones. On those telephones, they just launch some mobiles, and those mobile launch some applications, and those applications let them to buy and sell stocks firstly. Then, of course, they made some forex, let's say, some kind of a stock, some kind of a foreign exchange buying and selling, of course, with some kind of a leverage. And leverage makes that so dangerous. When you look up those forex, let's say, games, what you're going to see, forex buying and selling, it has been controlled by the capital market board. But the problem is, it's so dangerous without leverage effect. You're just putting $1 as a cash into the, let's say, market, into the market process, and you've got the chance to buy and sell $10. So 1 to 10 is a HYGIENE. Also 1 to 100 you can find, 1 to 40, 400 you can find if you want to buy and sell internationally. I'm talking about forex issues. So that let me sum up what I'm saying is stock markets reshaped, recovered, but it has passed the probable point, and it just gone furthermore. At some point, let me give you some examples of that. And in May, one of the so-called agricultural company began to jump up. Price of 4 lira. Now, throughout the time, what did we see? After 1 month ago, it reached up to the 1,050 as a price. Can you imagine? It breaks up 1,000 lira value. Now it is almost 250 lira. You see how harsh increase and all of a sudden big drops. That's volatility, we call it. And that volatility is a kind of, let's say, kind of Jibril, or some kind of a, let's say, a holy killing machine, because it attracts you, because it goes up so quick. You thought that, oh, how good it is. None of the guys are understanding of, or are so close to the balance sheet or income statement. None of them are wondering what are those silly numbers in those financial reports, and they don't have any, they are not caring about that. But if you're not going to care about, let's say, in a balance sheet, the capital side of the story, in passive side of the debit side of the, let's say, balance sheet, you're supposed to check it out. What is the capital of the company? Because when you look at the market value of the companies, they just doubled or tripled when you compare with the let's say capital amount of the company and the market cap of the company. The huge gaps we saw. So all bells are ringing. For whom? Those newcomers. Sooner or later they're gonna some shoot themselves. They're gonna lose cash, and they began that process. So the answer is all stock markets has gone up, rise up. Newcomers came as we saw in Turkey, but sooner or later they began to lose cash. I hope my praise, because since let's say 1988, I'm just working at the market. I'm working at the markets, and I'm just continuing. And what did I say? Plenty of the financial crisis and financial misuse and some kind of failures I saw. And all cases, the investors, naive investors, lost cash, and they refrain to what did they learn? The stock markets are not good, securities are not good, so that they don't want to get back again. I hope that the end of that story will not gonna be so bloody, but my experience shows me that it'll be bloody.
Thanks a lot again.
My pleasure indeed.
My last question is the ongoing economic recession will last forever.
Recession is still continuing. Those are the ones who are wondering about what is recession. If at least 3 quarters your GNP is getting down, that does mean that you're in the middle of recession. That's the economics term. In the theory that we are used to talk about those issues, inflation, stagflation, and blah blah blah, plenty of terminology that I can lie down or they're just somehow creating new terminology, even though they attract the people's, let's say, the people's care. Stagflation is one of my favorite, actually. There are plenty of terminology, so that all countries are bizarre about that recession. And we're not going to catch up new normal. We're not going to catch up the old performance in every economy. It's not that easy. I mean, I don't think that 2021 will be, maybe we could handle that needle problem, that remedy problem. Maybe there are plenty of solutions are coming. The companies are producing, of course they're going to sell it. They've done it on their purpose. So states are so eager to pay that cash, and they're gonna buy those vaccines, and they're gonna, of course, cure people. Let's say that's good, but that curement process will not gonna handle the economical, let's say, repercussion recovery. It'll not gonna be that easy. So I don't think that 2021 is gonna be let's say lovely and shiny year for us. I hope that we're not gonna see any new pandemic. I hope that there will be no let's say health problem again. Inshallah, we say in Turkish. If it is the case, then of course financial recovery will gonna be catchable, but not 2021, 2022, something like this. But the climate of the international climate is so tough. You see, all of a sudden, those guys from Europe, French, even though they don't have any shore, any let's say direct pass to the let's say sea, Mediterranean Sea, they're just sending their war machines, their gunboats they're sending in order to make some gestures to some of the countries. But that sea, throughout the history, once Ottomans are one of the partners of the sea, the controlling authority of the sea, so all, let's say, nations has got right to take gas and petroleum from the sea, and they do have right to use that. Who the hell you are? You are a kind of country exploited Africa and every country, and you just as a once we know that from the history, French Empire, that was the biggest empires of the of course the world, but Ottomans are the same, English were the same. So that what did you do in Ottoman Empire history? When you look up, we don't have any exploitation story in every country. None of the countries, they were bizarre about our exploitation. Never once, when you look at the history, we never forced people to learn Turkish. We never forced them to change their religion. We never economically, or let's say raw material manner and other manners, we exploited any country. So that when you look up European histories, let's say some, of course they just done something good. Of course, every culture has got those angles, but they exploit it bloodily, and they still continue to use and exploit those countries, both in Asia and also in Africa. So that understanding and thinking capitalistically will be ending net brutal problems, net bloody problems. And if they continue on that road, if they try to still trade us as a achy and small company, and they think that it's going to be easy for them to exploit us, at least since 20 or 40 years, they've done it deliberately in on some ways, of course not openly, but it's not that easy after all those experiences. So they stop and think about that every country has got independency, and they got their sovereign right to use their raw materials, or all let's say under the sea or under the let's say territories, under their lands, all kind of materials, they do have the right to use it. And if they interrupt, as they've been instructed, or as they've been constructed in United Nations, you see 5 of the countries always force all countries to follow up some rules. But the world is bigger than 5, as our head of republic says. It's the right sentence. So we as a Turkey supposed to keen on our rights, and all of a sudden you can see a semi-war in Middle East, semi-war in Mediterranean Sea. They are so easy, and also in Aegean Sea. Greece is a bizarre country. They've been erased, Europe as bribing them, erased their debts. They are living on nothing. I mean, they don't have enough military power, even though that is the fact. They've been supported by the EC as a, let's say, tool to use some international disputes to be used by European countries. So all of a sudden I'm expecting some wars, semi-bloody or semi-harsh, so that we're going to see that. I hope, inshallah, we didn't see that, but the numbers, the attitudes are showing us this. And national governments, ultra-nation governments, sooner or later we're going to take, they are going to take the power in European countries. Nationalism is going to be the features within 20 years. We're going to see that nationalist governments are being pumped up all of a sudden in democratic ways, of course, and they're going to harshly grasp the power. All countries are supposed to see the world as a, let's say, hostile world. They do think about that, and they're going to be so nationalistic. These are the issues in our future. I hope that I've been somehow fault side of the story. I think that I hope that inshallah I did analyze wrongly, but the numbers gonna be recovered, but not as much as we seen in old times. Let me stop my, let's say, conclusion in analyze. I think you're tired of what I'm saying.
I would like to listen all of the day.
Oh, I see. Thank you. You're so kind.
Thanks a lot again. As Para Ajansı family, we are so happy to have you here. Let's hope see you again.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Guys, thank you.
See you later.
Thank you.